Do you know that the Asante army, despite not being a regular standing force, was one of the most formidable military organizations in West Africa? Unlike the structured and permanently established armies of European powers, the Asante military operated on a feudal levy system. It relied on warriors raised by the 24 tribal heads of the empire, with additional forces drawn from conquered states. This method of assembling an army allowed the Asantes to muster immense numbers, sometimes reaching up to 100,000 warriors. However, most campaigns saw smaller but still formidable forces, such as the estimated 40,000 warriors who faced the British in the Anglo-Asante War of 1874. How did such an irregular force maintain cohesion, discipline, and battlefield success? The answer lay in a combination of strong leadership, strict discipline, and a military doctrine that was both strategic and psychological. The Asante leadership instilled in their warriors a deep sense of loyalty, national pride, and military superiority. Victories against enemy tribes reinforced this belief, shaping an army that saw itself as invincible. The Asantehene, the king of the Asante Empire, held ultimate authority over military campaigns. Though war declarations were decided in consultation with the chiefs and the Privy Council, it was the king's command that initiated conflict. His reputation depended on military success. A victorious campaign solidified his rule, while failure could lead to his downfall, as seen in the case of Kofi Karikari, who was deposed following the defeat by the British in 1874. Once war was declared, the chiefs, acting as military commanders, returned to their territories and called their people to arms. Every male citizen was a soldier, yet only a portion of them would be mobilized at any given time. This quota system ensured that society remained functional, with enough men staying behind to maintain agriculture and prevent famine. However, failure to answer the call to arms was met with severe punishment. Cowardice and desertion were considered betrayals and could result in immediate execution. Military police, armed with whips and swords, enforced discipline, sometimes compelling hesitant soldiers into battle with ruthless efficiency. One of the remarkable aspects of the Asante military system was its logistical organization. Each army group carried its own provisions, ensuring self-sufficiency on the march. They also had a medical corps, the Asumankwafo, a rare feature among African armies. These medics tended to the wounded and discreetly removed the dead from the battlefield, ensuring enemy forces remained unaware of Asante casualties. The Asante battle formation was inspired by nature, specifically the marching patterns of ants. A typical force comprised scouts in the vanguard, an advance guard, the main body, which protected the army commander, left and right flanks, and a rear guard. The positioning of the army commander at the center was crucial. Asante warfare often hinged on the fate of leaders. If the opposing general or king was killed or captured, the battle was effectively won. The initial skirmish began with the scouts, whose role was to engage and lure the enemy toward the main body. As the enemy focused on this central threat, the flanks would execute a pincer movement, attempting to encircle them. The objective was not only to defeat, but also to capture as many enemy combatants as possible. Prisoners were valuable, either for enslavement or, in some cases, for ritual sacrifice. Human sacrifices were an integral part of Asante spiritual and military traditions, continuing well into the late 19th century. Unlike cavalry-dependent armies, the Asante forces consisted entirely of infantry. The dense forests of their homeland, combined with the deadly presence of the tsetse fly, made the use of horses impractical. Their primary weapons were European trade muskets, known as long Danes. introduced by the Danes along the Gold Coast. These muskets, over 6 feet in length and weighing nearly 20 pounds, were unwieldy in forest warfare. Though theoretically capable of firing up to 200 yards, their accuracy beyond 30 yards was poor. To compensate for their weapons' inefficiencies, Asante warriors loaded their muskets with a mixture of lead slugs, nails, and even stones, creating a crude yet effective form of scattershot. Despite the limitations of their firearms, the Asantes displayed remarkable skill in their use. European observers noted their understanding of aiming techniques, sighting shots, and firing positions, distinguishing them from other African warriors. They could fire from standing, crouching, or prone positions, adapting to the thick jungle terrain. However, in the dense forests, most engagements were fought at close quarters, where the sheer noise and psychological impact of musket fire often played a greater role than the bullets themselves. While ordinary soldiers carried muskets, elite units and commanders wielded pistols, blunderbusses, and swords. These weapons not only provided better close-range effectiveness, but also served as status symbols. Warriors often carried knives, used not just for combat, but also for collecting trophies, severed heads of fallen foes, which were displayed to intimidate enemies and reinforce Asante dominance. Psychological warfare was a key component of the Asante military strategy. Drums played a crucial role in battle, their rhythmic beats reverberating through the forests, creating an illusion of overwhelming numbers. Coupled with war cries and the thunderous blasts of muskets, these tactics often instilled terror in opposing forces, causing them to flee before actual combat began. Those who attempted to retreat found themselves trapped by the flanking forces, ensuring complete annihilation or capture. The warrior's attire reflected both practicality and spiritual beliefs. The standard battle dress was a rectangular cloth, either wrapped around the waist or draped over one shoulder. Some warriors, especially chiefs and senior fighters, wore tunics adorned with protective amulets, believed to offer spiritual immunity against enemy attacks. Head coverings were uncommon, though decorated headscarves and caps signified rank. Despite the poor quality of their firearms, the Asante army was a force to be reckoned with. Their battlefield coordination, strategic formations, and unshakable confidence made them a dominant military power in West Africa. More impressively, they consistently held their own against European invaders. Between 1807 and 1900, the Asante engaged the British in multiple conflicts, often emerging victorious. In doing so, they achieved what few African armies managed, defeating the British in more than one battle. Their resilience against European forces solidified their reputation as a formidable, self-governing empire that resisted external domination for nearly a century. Unlike many African states that succumbed to colonial rule with little resistance, the Asantes fought fiercely to preserve their sovereignty, earning both fear and respect on the world stage. This was the Asante army, disciplined, strategic, and unyielding, an indigenous force that, despite its irregular nature, carved its place in history as one of Africa's most powerful military institutions. If you found this journey into the powerful and strategic world of the Asante army fascinating, there's so much more history where that came from. Africa's past is filled with untold stories of brilliance, resistance, and legacy that you won't hear anywhere else. Make sure you subscribe to Black Stories Untold, your home for real African history, raw and unfiltered. Don't miss a single episode. Hit that subscribe button now, and let's uncover the truth together.